Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory Online Summit. This is day 5 of our 31-day marathon, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speakers coming from all over the world. Before I start, I need to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. So thank you for hosting me in this beautiful country of Australia. All of you know that I'm currently based in Melbourne, and this is the traditional way that you honor the land that you're standing on. And I thought it would be a good thing to start off the day with that beautiful acknowledgement. Now, yesterday we said that we are going to have an inspiring quote or a saying by a famous woman from all over the world. I read a poem by Maya Angelou yesterday, and today Ruth has chosen Oprah Winfrey. So, Oprah Winfrey's quote for the day is, "Be more thankful, because the more my bounty increases. That's because for sure, what you focus on expands. When you focus on goodness in your life, more goodness comes in. You create more of it." So Oprah is a wise woman. I know that her focus is always on gratitude, gratitude. Another beautiful quote that I found was, "Challenges are gifts that force us to search for a new center of gravity. Don't fight them, just find a way, just find a new way to stand." So how many of you are being challenged today with things going wrong? Stand in a new way and accept those challenges. So the beautiful Ruth has dropped off, and Manuela, we will introduce our first guest, a wonderful young woman who I haven't met in person, but I met through her grandmother, who's based in Zimbabwe. She's 14 years old. She reached out to me, was it last year or the year before? And she wanted to write a book. And she had already written the book, and I coached and mentored her to publish it and get it on Amazon. Runako, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Her Story platform. We want to hear your
Thank
story
you so
today.
much.
So you have 15 minutes. Tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and we will come back online when you have finished speaking and sharing your story. The stage is yours.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. So, hi everyone. My name is Runako Ndonjo, and just like Gertrude said, I'm 14. I'm based in Zimbabwe, Gweru, and I'm a Form 3 high school student at a school called Stonehill in Zimbabwe. So, just like Gertrude said, I contacted her, I reached out to her, I think that was in 2019, through my grandmother actually, who helped me get to her. That was after I had finished writing my first ever book actually. So during the process of writing my book, it was a matter of, I think we all know what was going on through the time of 2019. It was like really hard going through like several lockdowns, continuous shutdowns, like being in quarantine and stuff. And I was one person who got really bored. I get bored really quick, and staying indoors was just really hard for me. So Well, I think you guys all know that as teenagers, of course, there's certain things that we get prone to once we get enough time. So unlike other people, I decided that I was going to use my time to try and change the world, to try and make an impact. And that's when I started writing my book. It's titled Destiny. Unfortunately, it's not yet published on Amazon yet. I'm still working on that. I hope everyone can still hear me. I think I'm facing some network issues. All right. So it's not yet published on Amazon, but once it's published, I think I'll let you guys know. So I finished my book and then I contacted Gertrude and we started talking. And just like she said, we really haven't met in person or anything. But I really just want to say she really did like impact my life in a really hard way because I kept on like following her since that time, just like following her pages, listening to the stuff that she was doing, and I was just like really grateful to see that so many women these days are being involved in making a change, making an impact to the world. So my book is based on four stories. It's an anthology, and it's different stories, but they're based on one storyline, which is the story of life. So just like Gertrude said, life is a challenge, and I think I wrote something about life being a challenge and how you're supposed to face life challenges head on. So life is a challenge meant to be embraced, and embracing and facing these is the most important part of the journey of life. So navigating your way through life's challenges helps you build resilience capacity, face life with all its challenges, like a road with all its bends, ups and downs and every other curve, accept success and failure as part of the journey that is life. Every challenge was created to be solved or faced, the same as life. So face life challenges head on, which is basically what my story is about. All the four stories, they're about all these different characters who are navigating their way through life, how they're going through their different problems, how they're, meeting certain people in our life, which is what happens in life. There's certain people who come through to us, there's certain people that we meet through this journey, and some of them, they're meant to make an impact in our lives. For example, with myself, people like Gertrude Matke, who I'm very grateful for. There's certain people who are also meant, I think, to, in my opinion, to be challenges. Also, people are meant to be there to challenge you, and then there's people who are meant to push you. There's people who are meant to break you sometimes, because sometimes you need that breaking in order to stand up, to rise up, and carry on doing what you need to be doing. So you need those kinds of people, and all the characters in my book are just kind of like going through life, how they're like falling down, how they're going through all these like curves, ups and downs, but then they're not giving up on life. They just keep going. And also another aspect I think that I love in my book is how not all my characters like experience that happy ever after. I think for me that aspect, actually a lot of feedback I got after the book was that a lot of my characters died in my stories. And well, for me, I was like, yeah, I had to let certain people die, because death, I think, is also another big part of life that people go through, in the sense that we lose certain people in our life, and certain people deal with it in different kinds of ways. Some people, it breaks them completely. Some people, they move past it. Some people, they're learning and trying to move past it. So I had to continuously incorporate death and show how all my different characters were going through this aspect of death, were witnessing death, were going through the pain of losing someone close to you, the pain of losing someone who had an impact on you. So I kept on trying to explain to a lot of people why I had incorporated so much death. Hopefully, I will, add more happily ever afters in my future books. But yeah, I think that's something that I really had to highlight. And I think sometimes we try and run away from the problems that is life, right? And so we try to run away from certain topics. They're hard to dwell upon, they're hard to talk about, they're hard to discuss. But I had to bring that reality to all of us, even though they were fictional characters, fictional stories. I had to bring that sort of like reality element where I helped these people, like other people also connect to my characters and realize like what they're going through, they can get past it. What they're going through, like they can get through it. So after my book, I got the chance to go on one of the best radio stations in my city that I'm based in, Peru. And I did get a lot of positive feedback, which I am grateful for because I was so nervous actually to go for my first ever radio interview. As I think I was 13 by the time now, and I wrote the book when I was 12. Then the publishing process actually took way longer than we thought, and that's when I realized that actually, like, you never get to appreciate something until you get like behind the scenes and you're actually involved in the process and everything. Because with us, we see books and it's just a couple pages, it's a story. But once you get involved in the process, you realize it's more than just that. It's, it's like somebody, sorry, okay. So it's somebody going through something. It's a writer who's explaining something through their own perception. It's a writer bringing new perception to the world, to certain people. It's a writer creating dialogue, a writer creating a connection to their readers and trying to explain certain things through them without being physically in contact with them. So I think I really got to appreciate the process of writing a book. It actually takes way more energy, way more time out of you, lots of hard work. Also, which just comes back to something that I'd like to say that hard work and like sweat, blood, tears is something that you go through in every process of life, in every path in life, in every one of your journeys. But it's something that you have to get over. Like you have to wake up, you sweat, you pick yourself up from the ground, and then you stand up. Tomorrow you're doing the same thing again. And no matter how many times you fail, you just like stand up and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. So after my book, I just started realizing a couple more aspects of my life that I never thought were there. Like for example, a couple of my friends and I, we started. We're actually in the process actually of starting our very own cosmetics company. One of my other friends is 14, the other one is 13. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here because they're at school. But yeah, we're actually working on that, and I think the company is going to be called R&M Cosmetics. And what we was trying to do in the company was to highlight how, for so long as the world, we've put a certain perception on beauty. We have put a perception on beauty, and now it's become something that, okay, so if you're beautiful, you have the perfect body, you have the perfect structure, the perfect plump kind of lips, you have certain things, but so much so that we have forgotten that real beauty is about what you are on the inside and letting that reflect on the outside, channeling that inner beauty and letting it show outside. So we're aiming to start showing young ladies, young girls, because half of these people are now being prone to cyberbullying that's happening on the internet, that's happening in social media. So all these young ladies were hoping to be their voice to try and lead them through their journey of finding their inner beauty and just like helping them get through this journey that is life. And we just like hope we're able to do that. And of course, it's we're three people, we're just three people, and we can't change the world's perception just like that. But hopefully, it's going to take us and hopefully all of you guys to put this new perception on beauty that real beauty comes from within. Real beauty is what you are on the inside, and you are beautiful once you channel that inner beauty and let it reflect on the outside. So we've been really trying to do all these things and just like balance school. As you heard, our ages, it's like really hard to try and be like, okay, so I have school, you have homework, and then you have all this work, you have meetings, you have stuff. So it's really hard to balance. But also, when you find that balance, it's something that I think people also need to have when it comes to work. You really need to have that balance and just like work and everything. Try and like work everything, make it work. And I was really grateful for the Oprah Winfrey's that we used to open up. I'm a fan of quotes and I take a lot of quotes from a lot of people. I do have a ton of quotes that I'm always doing. I think some of my favorite quotes are also about beauty. That's by Audrey Hepburn. It says, "The beauty of a woman is not in facial mode, but the true beauty in a woman is reflected in her soul." So yeah, that's just what we're really trying to do, and I hope that this Her Story Summit can just like be a platform where we continue to help her, we continue to help female people just like find their stories, defines their journeys, and because we all have a purpose in this life, we all have a story to tell, and sometimes it's really hard to get that story, to get to that story. But once you get that story, you have to tell it the best way you can. You have to tell it like it's yours, and you never know, but your story can actually inspire someone. And as I hope my story also will inspire someone out there. Of course, it's never going to be everyone in the world, but that one person makes a difference. So I really hope my story is going to inspire someone, and I really wish the Her Story platform all the best as it continues to just like grow and develop in terms of everything that it's doing. And I'm grateful that like lots of people are rising up to come together like this. It takes all of us. It starts with the dream, it starts with the vision of one person, and then we grow that together. And then once we come together, we build upon that, and then I think we can make the best of this life, and we can change the world. We can change our perception to things. We can change the perception on her, because I think the word her for me just describes a really strong creature, a really strong person, people that go through the day-to-day challenges of life. For example, one of the most people who inspire me, most inspiring females I have is my mom. They wake up, they cook, make sure everybody who's leaving the house for like school and work has everything done. They, do their own work, just like because lots of women are also just like really business minded. So then they do all that, and then they still get time to spend with their families and do all of that. So I really just appreciate the word her, and for me, it's become way deeper than I think it is to most people. It's become really like more of like a channeling, and it's been really deep for me. I try and find a really deep meaning to something, and even when I see something, I'm someone who's very observant. When I see something, I try and look way deeper into it, and I think that's a really good character to just like look deeper into things. So I hope the Her Story just keeps on doing every beautiful work that they're doing, and God bless you. Just keep doing well, ladies, and thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Runako.
Wow.
Lovely to have you grace us with your presence. Now, Manuela, there is some comments you might want to read on Facebook.
Absolutely. Let me see if I can read them. Oh, wow. So we do have a comment from our friend. It feels like he's our friend already, Horror, and he says, wow, Runako, you are amazing. No limitations or hindrance can stop you. Go, girl, and encourage others as well. That's the way to live an impactful life. Absolutely. I can see a beautiful smile, Runako. It's like you are gorgeous
Thank
beyond
you.
beauty. Incredible. Indeed, challenges create opportunities. Without facing challenges, it is impossible to make history. Solving problems around the world indeed is one of the reasons why God created us. Running away from the problem is like a product telling the manufacturer that it doesn't want to be used for the purpose it was created for. Oh, that's absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Horror. We really love and enjoy your comments. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Thank
So,
you.
Runako, I have a question
Thank
for
you so
you.
much.
We're going to ask you a
Uh-huh.
few questions and see how we can support you and help you. You
Okay.
reached out to me saying that you were looking for angel investors. Tell me a little bit about what kind of help you're looking for right now.
Okay, oh, so I think during my presentation, I mentioned a little bit about our cosmetics company that we're looking to start, R&M Cosmetics, and right now we're working on the formulation process, the packaging process. So we've been struggling to find people who help us with these costs so that we can finish processes and just like see our dream, our project come to life and be able to hold it in our hands and be able to say, we did this.
Okay, so be more specific when you say packaging. What is it you're looking for? What kind of help are you looking for?
So we're for financial help. We've already found our packager. Her name is Rina Allo. She's based in Sydney. We found our formula chemist. He's based in Sydney also. His name is Sobhao. We found a contract manufacturer. but we need financial help from all the people that we can get so that we can try and be as effective and efficient as we can during these processes.
So have you developed a business plan for this business? Because angel investors want to see the
Yes.
plan, want to see your cash flow projections. Have you got all of that already created?
We're still working on the cash flow projections, but we do have a business plan that we tried to come up with.
Okay. So the best way we can be of support to you, complete all of your documentation, a thorough business plan,
Okay.
get somebody back home who knows how to put together your cash flow projections, and then email all of that to me. I am currently meeting a lot of investors. You just never know, through my circles, and people who are listening to us right now might reach out wanting more information about you. Okay? So that's going to be the best
All
way we
right.
can
Thank you.
support you. It was wonderful having you here. Ladies, would you like to comment, ask Runako any questions before she goes?
Runako, thank you so much. Like your speech really touched my heart and my soul. My daughter is 17, and she's gone through
Oh,
some challenges herself. And all I could hear was like, she needs to talk to Runako. She needs to have a chat with her. Something that so I really love you coming and sharing your time with us. I'm really curious about something. You were talking about your book, and when you talk about your book, you mentioned these different characters navigating through different challenges in life, as we all do, correct? So my question to you, because I'm really, really
yes.
curious about these characters, if I say to you, Runako, look, I am a solo mom, my daughter's 17, I'm having a bad day, which I do sometimes, and you know what? I need to have a coffee and someone to listen to me. Which character do you think from your book would be more appropriate to have some time with?
Well, most of my characters are really younger people, but there's one character. Her name is Fiona. She's this girl, but she has this mother figure who's at her by her side all the time. Her name is Moyo, and she's been there for her. She's adopted by this lady, and this lady's been with her. And I think you resonate to a lot because she's going through the challenges of trying to raise a daughter who is not hers naturally, a daughter who she adopted, a daughter that she was able to have because she couldn't give birth, like she couldn't, yeah, she was barren. So she found that in her adopted daughter. So her going through those challenges and just like facing every day with her new daughter, trying to support her, trying to like challenge her to the life of challenges and like be with her. I think you really resemble that a lot.
Beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to see that book available.
We'll help her get it to
Yeah, we'll
market
be
for
working
sure.
on how to publish it on Amazon.
I would like to commend you, Ronako, for appreciating your mom. That is, I can see this beautiful lady managing the household, sharing the love with all of you, making sure everyone is doing what, you know, is supposed to do. And yeah, really touched my heart. So thank you for that. That's beautiful. She must
I
be so
Wonderful.
really do
proud. She must be
appreciate
so
my
proud
mom.
of you.
She is. She really is. And it's just crazy to just have both of her parents throughout this whole journey. Like I appreciate both of them and every parent in the whole wide world. Like what they do is just insane, and we should all just be really grateful for that.
And can I say something else, Ronako? When I was listening to you, and the communication was not 100%, but it doesn't. Your message is so strong that was coming through regardless, right? And the psyche part of me could see this young, beautiful girl in this massive, big stage. There are like thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So So just keep on doing what you're doing because, yeah, like I said to Hedrick yesterday, we're making waves and you are incredible. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Manuela.
All right, Miss Ruth, you're back with us. Do you want to comment, question?
Oh, my network is playing up, so I missed most of the presentation. And I was really hoping to listen to. I was really looking forward to hearing Runako's story. But I want to say congratulations on your cosmetic brand as well as the book that you are writing. And I can just see a bright future ahead of you. Well done. I love your energy too.
Thank you, Miss Ruth.
Thank you.
And Shalomi, would you like to comment, question, anything for Runako before she goes?
Thank you, Gertrude. I must say I enjoyed her energy and her zeal. She's so passionate about what she does, and trust me, passion is the best driver. The future is so bright, you have to squint.
Wonderful. So without further ado, Shalomi, welcome to our tribe.
Thank
Wonderful to
you.
have you here. Now, Ruth, do you have her bio or shall I introduce her?
I do have her bio. It's nice and short. So Sheloni Ndlovu is a handmade jewelry artist as well as a trainer. She supplies beads and findings, and she's based in Harare in Zimbabwe. Welcome to our tribe, Sheloni, and thank you for joining us
Thank
tonight.
you, Ruth. Thank you so much.
Okay, so Shaloni sent us her video. We'll play that first, and then we will all come online and do the same thing we did with Runako and have a Q&A session. The reason why we're asking people to send us videos is because of this problem with connectivity. We want to make sure that even if your connection drops, we still have your video, we can still play it, people can still ask questions and connect with you later. So if any of you are online, you're from Zimbabwe, Malawi, South Africa, and you have connectivity issues, just record your 15-minute presentation, send it to us through WeTransfer, and we will play it so that we can expose your story to the world. So here we go.
Hello everyone, my name is Sheloni Ndlovu. I'm a mom, a fempreneur, and ICT professional. I was born in Gweru. I grew up in Buchamarange. Yes, I belong to the Rural Girls Club. So I know what it means to start from scratch, move from the dusty streets of the rural areas to the big city. It wasn't an easy journey for me. So growing up, I was surrounded by a lot of underprivileged kids, women. So it has always been my dream to change a life. I was fortunate enough to be amongst the few girls who made it out of the rural areas up to university. But I did not forget about that girl who did not make it, about that young boy who might still be trying to find their way out of poverty. The economy does not make it easy, but we try. So back in 2016, I did my Executive Masters of Business Administration with South Africa University. And one of the courses that they taught us in that program really opened my eyes. It was entrepreneurship. I used to be a very shy girl. I could not even sell a sweet. I was just dependent on my salary. But you know, in Zimbabwe, the salary doesn't do much. And some of the things you have to do them in Forex, the salary comes is in dollar, and you have to find a way of getting Forex, and it's not easy. So when I did the entrepreneurship course, it opened my eyes. I said to myself, okay, I'm going to start crafting. I was always that girl who would get into a shop and buy lots of jewelry. Sometimes I would do it because it was therapeutic for me, like therapeutic buying. It wasn't good for my pocket, but I would do it anyway. I loved jewelry that much. So when I was thinking of ideas, I thought of building on my passion. Because sometimes I would get into a shop, then they would say, no, this one is for display only, you cannot buy it. And then I would get out of that shop saying to myself, I wish I could make it myself. So I decided to go along that route because it's something that I felt I could enjoy, and I enjoy it. I still enjoy it. So I learned how to do fashion jewelry making using my hands, and it actually worked. It started as a hobby, hey? Like I would just make and give away my pieces. But then people would come and say, I saw my friend with a bracelet, can you do it for me also? I would do it cheerfully and I would give them. But then the pressure started mounting. It wasn't sustainable to keep on making jewelry for free. So I started charging a fee. And word started spreading. I was in Mutare then. It started spreading. She can make jewelry using her own hands. She makes beautiful jewelry. Some brides would come and say, can you make jewelry for me for my big day? And people started asking me if I could teach them. Then I started teaching jewelry making. Then they started saying, can you not open a corner shop and sell some materials to us? Then that's how I had to find a way of sourcing raw materials. But my focus has always been on women, the youths, the underprivileged, because it used to break my heart. You are in a shop, you see a mother with a baby strapped on her back. She touches this little shoe. She looks at the price. She looks at her baby's little feet. She plays with the shoe. She puts it back on the shelf. She can't afford it. Then with a sad face, she walks out of that shop. It used to break my heart. So the few women that I could reach, the few women that I could empower, I have empowered. I have made an effort to empower. Sometimes I charge for my time. Sometimes I just do it for free. It just depends. I have to make money out of it, but sometimes I just do it for free because I'll be feeling for the people that I'll be empowering. Like you look at them, you see, I don't think they can afford. They want so much to do this, but they can't afford. The pocket just can't allow. And sometimes I just do it for free. And so far, I've trained over 300 people. Yes, over 300 people in a space of, since 2018. I've trained over 300 people to make jewelry. I now supply jewelry in Mutare, in Harare, like jewelry making materials. And yeah, the extra income is covering some gaps. I am benefiting. Those I've trained are also benefiting. I hear testimonies almost on a daily basis. I always say to people, some people, they craft for therapy. They come to you, they say, oh, my doctor said we are now cutting down your dosage. I don't know what you changed in your lifestyle, but it's working. And to me, that's heartwarming. Seeing someone being able to forget their troubles, being able to overcome hypertension, to minimize it, to minimize the effects, just by bidding. And so some bid for therapy, some bid to make extra income. They come with their testimonies. I bought a kitchen unit. It might sound like a small thing, but to them it will be like the whole world, because this is someone probably who used to put the few plates, the few kitchen utensils that they have in a corner cardboard box. Then they come to you, they say, I now have a kitchen unit. To me, that's such a testimony. And some will come and say, oh, my son was about to be thrown out of school. Now I can afford to pay the fees because someone just came in, bought all the jewelry that I had made. I always say to the women around me, I always say to them, you know what, jewelry is non-perishable, so don't get disheartened when you don't make that much sales. Just keep your stock, keep making. One day someone will just come and say, can I see what you have? And then they just buy everything. Yeah, and I'll be waiting for the testimonies, and they always come. And you see some people who have kids. Yeah, I've always taught kids. I think over 50 kids now to date, and those are my sweetest clients, the kids, because they do it for fun, but in the process they'll be developing their fine motor skills. And you see a kid who used to struggle with pencil grip, you see them, they are now confident with their pencil grip because they have been practicing with their fingers. So yeah, this business of jewelry making, supplying jewelry making materials, it has so much impact even on my own social life and on the lives of those that I've crossed paths with. So the challenges that I've faced so far: capital. Sometimes you want to bring in diverse raw materials that the pocket just can't allow, and you just have to work with the little resources that you have. Sometimes you want to help someone to start their own jewelry making business. Sometimes I help them from my personal stash. Sometimes you just give a little, a tiny starter pack for them to just start because they cannot afford to buy. I always say a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. Instead, it only makes the place more brighter. So it is my encouragement today to those who are listening to say, if you have a talent, try to disciple other people, try to empower those around you, those within your reach, so that you can change a life. We can change people's lives one person at a time, one small business at a time. I also thank God for technology. I now teach jewelry making on WhatsApp. I created short videos and short text that I share on WhatsApp. Sometimes I teach church groups. Sometimes I teach like-minded people. I just tell them to form a group. That's when I'll be offering it for free. But when I'm selling it, I charge $10 for it, for the WhatsApp course, and the one-on-one course I charge $20 for it, because I'll have to sit down with someone for about 4 hours and teach them the basics of fashion jewelry making. I also make handmade bags. Those ones I do them on a smaller scale, as I don't have much time due to my day job. So yeah, I just do them on a smaller scale. For those ones, I don't have an online course for them. So yeah, in my journey, I've seen so many lives changing. I've encountered the capital challenges that I mentioned, but I'm happy to say I'm still going, and because this is something I'm passionate about, I believe passion is the best driver. So I keep going. Since 2018, I've been beating, and I've never looked back. Even during the pandemic, beating kept me going, because it helps you forget the world. It helps you forget the troubles of this world. You focus on what you are creating. You find on the design board. You you just, yeah, feel, you just escape from reality, so to speak. So my encouragement to those watching: if you're passionate about something, go for it. Monetize your talent, monetize your passion. It's good to have several income streams. Now I have two. I'm a salaried employee, I'm a crafter, I'm a trainer, I'm a supplier. So it actually helps me as an individual, and it also helps those around me. So to those who are talented, find a way of monetizing your talent. To those who love supporting, yes, we thank you for the support that you give to women, that you give to youths, that you give to the underprivileged, because poverty is a reality, and it's such a war to fight it. But I believe together we can fight poverty. Together we can change the narrative. Together we can empower the woman. And when you empower a woman, you've empowered a nation. Because women, they are standing in the gap. They are standing for their children. They make sure the children are fed. Even when the father is finding difficulties feeding the family, the woman always stands up, and the woman always fights to make sure her children do not sleep hungry. So I thank you for this opportunity. I hope my story has touched someone. Thank you very much for giving me this platform, and thank you very much for listening. God bless you all.
Wow. Another inspiring story. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Now, I know that the volume was not very loud. Manuela, can I ask you just to take over while I answer this call?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
Absolutely. Yes, I have to really thank you, Shaloni. That was a beautiful and inspiring video. I want to see your jewelry. And you didn't wear any on your video. I was like, what? She wearing a necklace? I was like shaking. It's like, I want to see her hands. Where is your jewelry? And it was just beautiful listening to you and understanding. I was wondering, did Shaloni ever was conscious of the social impact? I was like 300 ladies and growing. That is a huge social impact, right? And as you say, you empowering. You said beautifully. Together we can change the narrative. I love that. And you also mentioned that when you empower a woman, you can empower a nation. Wow.
Thank you, Manuela.
Oh,
now,
no, thank you. These were your words. These were your words,
what you
Shiloni.
said,
Please own it because you're beautiful. Thank you.
what
Thank
you said
you.
is important, Manuela. And Shalomi, I hope you take this on board. Every single time you get an opportunity to be on screen is a sales opportunity. So when you did that video, you should have worn your art, your jewelry. And next time we're going to have you redo the video again for us. So we play it later on in the month. I want you to speak
Okay.
louder. I want you to project, because You were talking like you're just talking to someone in the room. Pretend like you're in a room full of 100 people and you want them to hear you. It's easier
Okay.
for people to reduce their volume. Like I pushed the volume on your video to the highest and still we couldn't quite hear you. So part of the
Okay.
Herstory movement, we coach women how to speak, how to market, how to show up. Right now, both of you, the room you're in, I know it's night time. Next time you come on video in the evening, get a lamp, put a light in front of you so the light is shining on your face. Those are small little important things that when you're using an online platform and you're using video and you want to be heard and seen, you have to really learn how to stage where you are in that room. So I'll be running some courses online. I love your idea of running courses on WhatsApp. I hadn't thought of doing it on WhatsApp because most people get access to WhatsApp in Africa. So please put your cell phone number in the chat, Shalomi, so I can send you a
Right.
message on WhatsApp and we can start talking. I also have some other ideas for you in terms of how to sell this jewelry. We are planning to create a women's cooperative. Oh, she dropped off, but she can watch this video later. We're planning to start a women's cooperative, helping women finding ways of working as a collective, ordering the beads in bulk. So I think Shalomi could be a really good resource for us in terms of getting that sorted. And Runako, with your product line, you know, if you watch a lot of makeup influencers on YouTube, you'll get a lot of ideas. What Shalomi is doing is she gives people what's called a starter kit, right? She gives them enough beads for them to be able to start a small business. So instead of you selling your product one thing at a time, you could use that as part of your business model as well, where you buy your materials in bulk, you create a package, maybe you sell that package for $100, and a woman can now go into business as well. You will find that you will sell more because people know that they can make money for themselves. If somebody just loves your product and they can find a way to pay for it, that's going to be another business model that would work really well. There's a lot of women who are doing this. They create starter kits and they help other women to get into business as well. So we want to start really helping women find smart ways of getting their product out. So you're back, Shalomi, that's good. So we'll be running workshops to coach, to mentor, to share ideas that we have. I'm from Zim. I was just like you. I paid my way through university, making beads. I studied at University of Western Cape. I had a clothing business. I used to make kaftans and African clothes. I do batik. But the biggest way to make money right now is in teaching people to do what you do. And Shalomi, you've already caught on to that. Instead of selling your beads one by one, if someone knows that if they learn from you, they can go into business, that's really where the money is. So thank you for your cell phone number. I'll send you a WhatsApp message now and see if I can connect with you sometime during the week. You might be part of our leadership team for the women's cooperative we want to create in Zimbabwe.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now we'll move on to our next video. And Manuela, I'll ask you to read out the bio I put around Awareness 360.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to just play the first probably 25 minutes. I want you to stop at the point where we start playing games.
Wonderful.
So E360 focuses on youth. They train young children on a number of things online. and I've become one of their facilitators. And the video is self-explanatory, but you could read out their bio, Manuela, that would be good.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gertrude. So the bio says the following. It says, Awareness 360 is an award-winning global youth-led nonprofit headquartered in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, that empowers young people in 25 plus countries to do community service projects in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDG. Pre-pandemic, over 150,000 people have been benefited through our project. We take pride in being recognized by several international platforms, including Forbes, the Diana Award. And I think that's it. Oh, it's a global citizen, Diana Award, Global Citizen, Global Change Makers, UNDP, UN Women, UN ODC, Samsung Global, the US State Department, the Commonwealth Youth Program, and many, many more. Let's take a look at the video.
So while Manuela is lining up the video, there's another comment from Horal saying, thank you, Salome. I just added that a few minutes ago.
Let's get started.
Now you can press play.
Okay, I think it's loading. Wonderful.
Try and skip all the ads if you can. Manuela? Manuela? Okay, so I'm going to have to do it from here. We couldn't hear the sound, right? Okay, I will play it from this end. Share screen. Good evening, everybody. This is Gertrude Bache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. It gives me great pleasure to come back and share with you my experience in diversity and compassionate communication. And hopefully by sharing a few of my life experiences, I'll be able to transfer to you what has been my experience in this field. So, have you ever gone to a meeting that ended up in an argument where people were not getting on, messages were being missed, and it was a total disaster? This happens a lot, not just in the workplace, not just at school, but it can also happen in organizations or in families. And it happens when the team or the family are struggling to communicate with empathy. Hence, the communication is totally ineffective. So I want to talk a little bit about empathetic communication. So imagine if someone on your team fails to communicate because they have a stutter, or English is not their first language, or they do speak English, but a different type of English. So I am from Zimbabwe originally. I moved to New Zealand 21 years ago. Thought I knew how to speak English until I got to New Zealand. Now, the New Zealand Kiwi accent is very, very different from British English. And the most difficult thing for somebody who speaks English as a second language is when you're not able to lip read. And I didn't even know that I did this very intuitively. A lot of the way that I take in information when I'm talking to first English speakers is I look at their lips and I can make out the words by the way they move their mouths. Now, New Zealanders unfortunately speak very fast. They do not move their lips. And I felt like I had come into a country where people didn't speak English and they were actually speaking English. So although you might have studied in an English-speaking country and you think you understand the language, a lot of language is communicated not just by the words that are coming out of somebody's mouth, but the body language, the lips play a huge part in communication as well. So that was my experience when I got to New Zealand. It actually shocked me because I didn't expect that. So I managed to develop empathy at a very early age in life. I grew up in a country called Rhodesia, which was a British colony. And I went to an all-girls private school from the age of 6. Now, in Rhodesia at the time, we had an apartheid system where Black people and white people didn't mix, and English was not my first language. So I experienced apartheid from a very early age. My sister and I were the only 2 Black kids in every single school I went to, and the other kids in those schools did not like me. It was very isolating, very lonely. I didn't have any friends, and I really felt that I was different. I had the wrong skin color, everybody else was white, and I was totally not accepted in that environment as a child. Now, my parents went through a similar thing. My father got a scholarship to go to London to study to become a chartered accountant. So he took his young wife, my mother became a nurse, my dad became a chartered accountant. When they came back to Rhodesia, before Zimbabwe had independence, my dad could not get a white-collar job, despite having all of these qualifications from the UK, nobody would employ him. So he had to work in a chicken slaughtering factory until Zimbabwe got independence almost 5 years later. So I managed to get my first job in a very unusual way. From the age of 16, my father would put me on the bus every single school holiday and send me to the city. And he will tell me to apply for jobs, but not take them. And I'd say, Dad, why do I have to do that? And my dad would say, the corporate world is white. When you're going to look for that first job, you need to be confident. You need to stand up in front of white people and speak. That's how I got a job in IT. I became a COBOL programmer, and it shaped my career. But as I was rising through different organizations, I experienced, again, discrimination based on the fact that I was a woman, I was Black, and I was in the IT field, which was very, very male dominated. I remember getting a job in South Africa in Cape Town. I was a systems analyst at the time. I was a project manager. And my boss, before we had tea or coffee, if we were breaking during a meeting, would look to me and say, Gertrude, it's time for tea and coffee now. And what he actually was implying was that I had to go and make tea and coffee for everybody else. And it was mostly because the Black woman in South Africa was a domestic servant. She would be the cleaner in any organization. And he knew my qualifications. He knew that I wasn't the cleaner, but he still treated me like the help. And I turned it into a bit of a joke. If he did that, I would say, yes, Jack, I take my coffee black with 2 sugars, please. And I would cross my legs and expect him to go and get my coffee for me. And everybody would laugh. And I broke his cycle of victimization and abuse by making it funny and getting people to laugh at him. So sometimes you have to kill people with kindness when you find yourself getting the communication in a very aggressive way, abrasive way. And that's what I experienced when I worked in apartheid South Africa. I experienced this when I traveled, like normally when you're on an airplane, doesn't matter which country you're going to or coming from, there's very few Black people on the plane. And the way we are treated is completely different from other people of other skin tones. And you can feel it just through the body language. So body language, like I said earlier, is a very, very big part of communication. So what is empathy? Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. So it's not about how you feel. It's about understanding how the other people or the other person is feeling at that given time. And there's two types of empathy. There's affective empathy, which is emotional empathy. And this is inherent in all human beings. This is when we react to each other. If you see somebody who's crying, you give them a tissue and you comfort them. If you see somebody who's smiling, you smile back. Then there's cognitive empathy. And this is the perspective where you are taking the other's perspective, not yours. You're putting yourself in somebody else's shoes deliberately to try and see how it would feel if it was you. Now, sympathy focuses on your perspective, whereas empathy focuses on the other person's perspective. So whenever you catch yourself thinking, oh, I feel sorry for that person, you're being sympathetic, not empathetic. And it's very, very easy to stop yourself in your tracks when you feel yourself feeling sorry for somebody else. So here's a really good example. Saying, I'm sorry that you're sad. That is sympathy. Saying, I understand why you're sad and I'm here for you is empathy. There's a very big difference between those two statements. So empathy is not an opportunity to make the conversation about you. It's always about the other person and the other person's perspective. And you have to learn to communicate with others in a way that works best for them and not for you. It's always about the other. So for empathetic communication, you need to have a solid foundation. Just like if you are building a house, you need to draw the plans of that house before you start laying the bricks, before you put the roof. You need to have a solid foundation. And I'm going to give you a few tips on how to create that solid foundation towards empathetic communication. So you can practice empathy in a number of ways. First way is to observe communication behaviors of others. That's really important, just to be quiet, not to say anything, but just watch. An example is observing eye contact. Now, eye contact in different cultures can mean different things. In some cultures, if you look somebody directly in the eyes, it's disrespectful. In most Asian communities and African communities, it's disrespectful to look at somebody who's older than you directly in the eye. So the tendency is to put your head down. In the Western world, it's the exact opposite. So is the person avoiding eye contact? And how is person B reacting? So you also have to be sensitive to the cultural perspective of the other person when it comes to eye contact, and take that into consideration as well. Observe communication behavior of others and focus on listening. A lot of times people listen to be heard. They don't listen to hear. And by that, I mean, when somebody's saying something to you, you're already thinking about your answer to what they've said, and you haven't fully taken in what it is they're saying. You're already ready with your answer. So focus on empathy, on listening. It's very, very good just to be quiet and take things in before you react and respond. So observe the communication between others, focus on listening, and then paraphrase. Now, paraphrasing is very powerful. When somebody says something to you, you repeat what they've said. You can say something like, so am I understanding correctly? What you mean is, and then you repeat the words that they've said. Now, if you've got it wrong, the person will tell you, no, what I actually mean is this. So it's really important to paraphrase what other people have said to make sure that you've understood what they're trying to communicate. So ask other-centered questions. Remember how I said it's all about the other person. If you want to practice empathy, it's not about you. It's always about the other person that you're communicating with. So here's another really good example. You're in a meeting. I loved your idea to go over part 3 of the project with the rest of the team. Which sections do you think we should emphasize? Now, it's really important to give the other person an opportunity to express where they feel the emphasis is. It makes them feel valued. It makes them feel heard. It makes them think, wow, this person really values my contribution to this conversation. So the benefits of asking others to share is multiple. They'll ask you to share too. They'll be more likely to listen to you. And they may incorporate your ideas in the plan. So it benefits you when you do this. So determine if your perceived communication style matches your actual communication style. Now, we all have a perception of ourselves and how we communicate, but the way it lands for other people could be totally different. So how do you find out whether your perception of your communication style is what's actually being received? Formal reviews are a really good way of getting feedback. Something went wrong with our connection there, Manuela. I
Yes,
don't know
I'm
if
not quite sure.
I dropped out completely.
Pardon me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Unfortunately, the connection, the presentation stopped.
Yeah, the connection dropped, so I will just start it again. I know the point where it dropped. Technology is challenging us today.
It is. But I
All
think
right.
our voice is louder, Gertrude, so it's all good.
All right, we'll continue from where it dropped.
Beautiful. Thank you.
That your perception of your communication style is what's actually being received. Formal reviews are a really good way of getting feedback. So you could be in a meeting, you could give people a feedback form, get them to review what has actually happened with the project, the meeting, whatever it is you're gathering for. Gather feedback on actual behaviors. Provide the perspectives of direct reports and reveal the communication blind spots. So we all have blind spots. And when I say a blind spot, if you are looking at the screen right now and you're looking directly at me, you have blinkers. You can't see what's to the left. You can't see what's to the right. You can only see what's in front of you. And a lot of times we're so focused on what we're trying to say, you can't see the other perspectives that are around you. So by having formal reviews, it really helps to reveal those communication blind spots that you are not actually seeing. So some of the best ways to find out whether you're communicating effectively is to take a coworker out for lunch and ask them how you can improve. Don't take a close friend. They will be polite. They will want to please you. Take a coworker instead that you're not very close to. Collect behavioral evidence. Start making notes when you observe your own communication. Note the behaviors mentioned in the feedback that people give you and write down and record the causes. Because you will find that there is a pattern of things that you do without really thinking. And you can then catch yourself the next time you do it if you have recorded it down on paper. And you can then make improvements. Some of the improvements you can make with your communication is to slow down. Slowing down with how you're speaking at a slower pace, and slowing down to listen, like I said before. So we're going to break for a small little exercise. I don't know how many people we have in the room. And then we will finish off with the 12 ways that you can improve your communication style. I'll give you a summary of 12 things that you can take home. So if we break up the room, does everybody know each other, or is everybody unfamiliar with each other? Going away without saying something.
Yep. I thought the session was really interesting. So I've learned a lot, especially the games. It was really interactive and fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. So I can see we have about 19 minutes left. I'm going to give you a summary before we do a recap. And in the recap, I'm wanting feedback from all of you, the top 3 things that you've taken in. I'll share my screen again. And in this summary, I'm going to highlight on 12 ways that you can improve your communication skills instantly. So number 1, show respect and show appreciation. The two go hand in hand. People already progress more effectively when you show them respect. Number 2, listen actively. Active listening is when you stop thinking about the next meeting you're going to go to or something you want to do tomorrow, being fully present to the person who's in front of you. People want to know that they're being heard instead of just focusing on formulating a response. Remember what I said, that sometimes people start to think about the answer back to what somebody is saying without actively listening to what that person is saying. Number 3, ask questions and paraphrase. They say that people who are inquisitive and ask questions are very intelligent. If you pretend like you know everything, you're going to miss out from what other people can actually teach you. Asking questions not only will help you to understand what the other person is saying, but it indicates that you're actually listening and you're interested in what they're saying. It opens up the conversation and it signals to the other person that you see them, you hear them, and you understand them. Number 4, eye contact. So remember, eye contact is culture specific. Take into account the person you're talking to, whether they're not looking at you because it's a cultural thing for them not to have direct eye contact, or if there's something else that's going on. So sometimes you could be talking to somebody and it's really important. It could be your boss, it could be your supervisor, it could be your teacher at school, and they're busy looking outside the window while you're talking to them. It shows that they're not interested, they're distracted, their focus is not on you. Number 5, pay attention to body language. So remember what I was saying? 80% of your communication is in the body language, not the words that are coming out of people's mouths. So your nonverbal and non-written cues often reveal more than you actually think. So remember, when you're communicating, it's not just about the words. It's about how you are gesturing. A lot of times when somebody's got their arms crossed, that is a very closed way of communicating. You're not really interested. Sometimes when people are talking to you, you have your hands down, you're relaxed. So those kind of gestures can say a lot to the other person you're talking to. Number 6, get rid of conversation fillers. You really have to learn how to improve your speech, learn how to cut them out. One of the things I've noticed with young people today is you use the word like so much. It is so crazy. I don't know how it started, but I've noticed with young people, it's like, and then, like. Record yourself speaking so you can catch it, then you can avoid it. Record yourself speaking, transcribe the audio, see how many times you say like. Number 7, be brief but specific, both in your verbal and your written communication. A lot of times people will say something and they will waffle for 5-10 minutes trying to say a very, very simple thing. So learning the art of being brief and specific is something that will really help you, especially when you're communicating via email. Don't ramble. Number 8, put away all your devices. Another vice that you young people have. My kids, when they were teenagers, would be sitting in the sitting room next to each other, and they would be sending each other messages on their phones. I'm like, what are you guys up to? You're sitting right next to your brother. Why don't you just talk to him? Put away your devices. Be present. Number 9, validate others' thoughts and feelings. When somebody's feeling a certain way, they feel that way for a reason. And even if you won't react the same way, it's important to acknowledge the emotions that they're experiencing. You don't have to agree with that person to validate them. You make them feel important by simply letting them know that you hear what they're saying and you accept their perspective. Number 10, Never talk over people. There's some people who, before you finish the sentence, they're already jumping in with their comment, with their question. Wait until the other person has stopped speaking. Bite your tongue. It's okay to have pauses between conversations. If you talk over somebody, it's very disempowering to that other person because you're taking control of the conversation. So be very aware of talking over other people. Number 11, watch your tone. So sometimes you could answer back in a very aggressive way, and it just breaks down the whole communication chain with that other person. So your tone is very important, being aware of what tone you're communicating in. And number 12, smile. Smile often. When you smile, a smile is infectious. It makes the other person smile. When you smile, it releases endorphins in your body and in the other person's body as well. You exude a positive attitude when you smile often. So that one simple little thing can completely change your communication style for life. So that's what I wanted to share as a recap before we end our session. So we've got about 10, 12 minutes to go. Now I want us to open up the floor, and I'm expecting each of you to give us some feedback, what you've learned, what you've observed, something you didn't know. Let's just open that up for dialogue. So okay, we're back. We've got Runako and Shalomi. Welcome back, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that was a video on communication and empathetic communication. I did a lot of exercises with these young people on things to look out for when you're talking to people online. There is a lot of fraud going on right now because people are transacting on the internet. The whole safety issues around young people, young girls, Runako, don't ever get yourself on a private call with anybody without your parents being near. There's some really bad things happening because we're being forced to interact on an online platform. And one of the courses I'm going to be putting together is how people can learn to read people's body language. So you can tell when somebody is lying just based on things they do with their body when they're telling the lie. There's a lot of research that's been done around this, and I've started coaching and training people about those non-verbal communication cues that can tell you whether somebody's being honest or not. So let's just have a conversation around the presentation. We'll start with you, Manuela, then Runako and Shalomi, before we move on to our next video.
Thank you, Gertrude. I always, any conversation that comes from the heart and talking about being empathetic towards towards others is something that I'm passionate about, and it's very difficult to find in corporate. So to have a really good understanding on improving our communication and be a little bit more understanding of where the other person comes from is really important. Something that I learned time ago during my coaching training, and I have no idea, the power of smile, not just face to face. And this is something that, as I said, I didn't have a clue, Gertrude. When you are on the phone, if you are smiling, and obviously the other person cannot see it, right? Unless we do a face to face. If you are smiling, our communication is softer, and you come across as friendlier, and you come across in a different way as if you are tense and you are almost defensive. So next time that if any of you are going for a job interview, or are you looking for partnerships, and you feel a little bit stressed, you say to yourself, I'm going to smile and let's see what happens. But yes, I loved your presentation, Hedra. That was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the whole thing about smiling. They say that when you smile, it increases your face value. And smiles are infectious. They're very infectious. The minute you smile, whether somebody can see you or not, people can sense it in your voice. So I laugh, I smile a lot by nature. I'm just one of those crazy people who finds joy in everything. But yeah, just being aware of that is very, very important. So thank you for bringing that up. Runako, what was the biggest take home for you from that presentation?
First of all, I'd like to say I loved the presentation. It was so beautiful. And I think one thing I learned was that just like we do certain things, not that because like we want to do it intentionally, but because we don't know. And I've actually come back from this knowing a lot more in terms of like body language, communication skills, just like smiling in general and stuff like that. So what I loved most, I think, was when you say we should listen, not listen to be heard, but we should listen to hear. I really like that part because a lot of times we do actually just like want to be heard. So I really enjoyed that actually, and I think I really learned a lot. And hopefully, we're going to start seeing a lot of communication changes in the way that I talk to people, the way that we all talk to other people, and so great presentation.
Yeah, and one of the things that young people have to be aware of is the use of the word like. I have no idea why young people have used this word as a filler word. It is so irritating. But once you become aware of it, you can stop yourself. So what I suggest you do, Runako, I want you to watch this video after we finish. Take a pen and paper and make note how many times you said like during the presentation. Okay? So that's some homework for
Yes.
you because I picked up like 50 of them. And the next time you do a presentation, be aware, just be conscious. They're called filler words. Sometimes people say or ah, but for some reason, young people have slotted in this like, and yeah, it's not a very effective way to communicate. Salome, do you have any feedback for that from the last presentation before we move on?
Yes, I do, Gertrude. Thank you. I tried to put a picture of myself wearing my neck chain. I hope you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So I loved the presentation. I loved all the communication tips. They actually reminded me of the signs of fascination. There's this lady by the name Sally Hogshead. Yeah, I think that's her full name. She discovered the signs of fascination, and she talks a lot about the personality archetypes that people present. And I was picking a lot of them in the several communication styles that you talked about. And I was actually looking at myself. I once took an interview and they said I'm passion and prestige. I love building teams. At the same time, I thrive for excellence. And I'm so empathetic when I look at myself, when I look at people. If you listened to what I was saying, I look at someone, I feel sorry for them, I give them a starter pack. That's being empathetic. And
Yes.
you want to lift that other person up. You want to encourage that other person to be the best that they can. So I could relate with a lot of things that you presented in that presentation. They were resonating with me a lot. Thank you so much for sharing.
It's awesome. No, it's a pleasure. I'm glad you got something out of it. So without further ado, Manuela, we're going to move on to our next speaker. I've put the bio in the chat. I'll cue the video. So if you could read the bio, I'll get the video going.
Beautiful. Thank you, Hedra. So our next speaker's name is Lucy. Lucy Antrobus, and this is her bio. From engineering to entrepreneurship, I am a dynamic and creative leader with ambition to uplift communities globally. I empower people to find their voice, own their story, and scale their impact for good. Being connected to different cultures and unleashing diverse minds into the world is at the heart of my spirit and work. I am the designer of an award-winning methodology to catalyze confidence growth in refugees. Now scaling to new communities, women, persons with disabilities, in different geographics, UK and Africa. In parallel, I am a strategy advisor to high-impact organizations, including the United Nations, focusing on equality and inclusion. Background in strategy and strategy deployment across Europe, the Americas, and Asia. And finally, I'm passionate about social justice, inclusion, and diversity, a warrior for gender equality and catalyzing confidence and professional growth. How beautiful.
Good morning, Gertrude Matche. It is wonderful to have you here today. And so the topic of conversation today is going to be digging into her story, its origins, why you created it, what collectively this movement is looking to achieve. And so first, I mean, I've read some things about you. You're an author, you're a social entrepreneur, you're an inspirational speaker. But really, who is Gertrude Matche, and what are just a few things that you can tell us, the world, about yourself?
Thank you so much, Lucy. It is an absolute honor to be connecting with you this morning and connecting with you. Okay, so I queued the wrong video. She was interviewing me. I'm trying to find the one where I was interviewing her. So if you all bear with me, I will find that. Okay, I think I've got the right one. Isn't that interesting? Here we go. I'll try that again. Sorry about that, everybody. Share screen.
Well, I feel a little bit nervous to take the floor after two women powerhouses have just shared their story. And before I officially begin, I want to say thank you so much to Gertrude for that deeply personal share. We're just in the early stages of getting to know each other. Every time there's new richness and new inspiration that comes through the connection and exchange. And I'm super happy and excited to meet your sister Ruth. And what a powerful story, what a powerful woman, and really looking forward together to empowering more and more women voices. So this is going to be a little bit different, but I will begin with telling you a bit about why I'm here. And I'm going to tell you that by giving you a little insight into the organization I'm currently building and what we do, and in a way, why we do what we do. The first thing that it begins with is starting with having people to again feel their value. In the communities I work with, the communities like refugees, marginalized women who face domestic abuse, people that have faced racial discrimination and beyond. And so the first thing that we do is starting to build people up from inside. We go from the inside out, and we start with helping them to reconnect and feel their value. On the next layer we put on top of that is not just that they feel value in themselves and that self-worth comes back, but on top of that, that they start to feel like they can influence their own life and make decisions that can influence their professional progression, getting jobs, their personal lives, relationships, along with the acquisition of local languages, such as French, where I'm here in Switzerland. And then the next layer, the third layer on top of that kind of onion of self-transformation that we do is having them take that, oh, I can influence my own life, to take that and implement that and put that into, oh, but I can influence and I can contribute to society. So a really beautiful thing that we see and this process that we developed is enabling people not only to feel value in themselves again, but when they have gone through that process and reconnected with their most powerful self, they want to then share and contribute that to others. And that was a very unplanned, but a beautiful thing that came through in this process. So what on earth am I really talking about here? To give you a little bit of context of what I'm concretely working on and why I use this as it's really manifesting my purpose at the moment. And that is, we do this confidence building workshops and programs and storytelling as a vehicle for personal transformation to communities such as refugees. So these are people who've gone through sometimes unimaginable trauma. They've had near death experiences. They might have been starving for several weeks in the desert or living out of dustbins just to stay alive. And they've lost a lot of community when they've been transplanted into a new country. No family, no friends, no finances, no resources. And so that causes this kind of disconnection or isolation. And what we do is, by using joy and connection as antidotes to this trauma and suffering, we help them again through this three-part process to bloom. And so to give you a little bit of a visual analogy, there's a flower, the California poppy, which whilst it stays in the shade, remains closed. But when it's exposed to sunlight, it blooms. And so what we try and do is enable people to bloom by providing them the light and catalyzing it. Now, I'm not actually going to tell you too much more about how that works, and I'll give you maybe a little tiny snapshot of how I really got to having a world in one room from my background. But what I actually want to do with you today is give you a little taster to support your learning journey and to support your speaking journey as to what we do to get people warmed up. So that later today, when you will take the stage, then you have a flavor of a little step process into doing that, but also can help other people to find their confidence and find their voice in doing the same thing. So I'm going to, I'll tell you a little final thing or two about it, and then we're going to do some live demoing together. So I'm going to take off my scarf in this winter climate over here in Europe to get ready for this. So one important thing that we see, and I mentioned people have maybe been spending weeks starving in the desert, or they've had some near-death experiences. Now, in those times and moments, they felt sometimes a real crushing low sense of self-worth and self-esteem. Why is this happening to me? Why is this struggle going on? Am I worth it? Is it worth continuing? Where's my friends and family? Where is the hope? And now when we give them an opportunity and a stage, a bit like this, in front of, say, maybe 100 people, before, when you were spending weeks imagining yourself as a James Bond of the Sahara, because it's the only way through to get through this unimaginable experience, then suddenly when you have 100 people looking at you, listening to your story, it tacitly says, I have something to say that matters. People want to listen to me. And that causes this kind of shift or declick in their belief of what their self-value is, of, hey, if I can do this when before this is where I was, where can I go tomorrow? And so that's really what our process is about, is catalyzing, using storytelling as a vehicle for personal transformation to catalyze where they can and will go in their future. But that sounds all kind of various big things. But really it's about taking very tiny baby steps one at a time, but one after the other, so you suddenly don't realize how quickly you're transforming. So we use, therefore, the body language and the voice to tap into the mind, because by moving our body in a different way, we start to tap into the brain. And so my final example, before I give you just a very playful teaser of this, is I had one young man who came into us. His name was Karim, and he came, a young man of around 18 years old, and he came to us with a very small, from Afghanistan, very closed posture. He barely looked up to look me in the eye, and his body language gave me this impression of a young Bambi, like an animal that was wounded and was looking for shelter. And he came and he crowded, he kept his jacket up here, and he seemed sheltered by his friend. And slowly throughout the course of the program, we got him to open up, we got him to smile. And part of what he designed his story and where he'd come from, two little hands in this picture, one that said, Mama and Papa, mother and father, killed by the Taliban. Another little picture, an unhappy face, brother killed by the Taliban. And this context made us realize, no wonder the way that he's behaving from where he's come from, this young man living without his family. But what that moment also enabled us to realize is a great sense of purpose then, because we realized if this young man who's come and he's away from his family and connections, if we can help him and we can help him again to bloom and see that beautiful smile that he then brought and lit up the room, and that he did things that he didn't believe was possible, we start to enable him to realize all the other things he can do in his future. And he had many years ahead has still to live. So, but we don't go there 0 to hero one go. It's about going in these little baby steps. So I've mentioned the voice, I've mentioned body. Well, let's play with that. So I will challenge those of you who have your videos on to stand up if you can. And those who dare, because this is going to become interactive, to also put your video on. And we're going to do this together, and I hope this also energizes you and leave a contagious field of energy to continue with your speaking throughout the rest of today. So we're going to go into 3 things. We're going to tap into the body, we're going to tap into the voice, and we're going to tap into the emotions. And these 3 things are different tools of expression that we can use as people, as influence, as vehicles of energy in the world. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just shake out our body a little bit. You can dance in a more African way or a Western way, or just let it a little bit loose and start to kind of relax all those things which sometimes stay stiff when you're meeting staring at the screen. Maybe give a few little shoulder shimmies. We'll have a shoulder dominance because that's what you can see. Show me your hands, your lovely hands, a vehicle again for expression. Beautiful, these amazing hands, these wonderful women. Okay, and so next what we're going to do, we're just going to go on a spot a little bit. So we're really starting to loosen up the body. And next what we're going to do, I want you to make a giant, what I call a starfish shape. So you're going to stretch your arms really wide. Stretch, stretch, stretch like you're a big beaming star, big beaming starfish. That's great. Feel that stretch. Feel that big and the power that comes with it. And I want you to close that down into what I call the tiny baby clam. And if you dare to crouch right down on the floor, really, really close it up and feel the difference in energy and emotion when you're super, super closed down. And we're going to spring back into the giant clam. Fantastic. Okay. One more time. Starfish. One more time into the baby clam. And this time from the baby clam, we are going to jump 3, 2, 1 and launch into the starfish. Fantastic. Okay. And shake it out. Right. That's a little bit into the body. Okay. We're going to go a little bit into the voice. Now, even speaking to you and projecting, I'm using a lot more breath. So the breath is an important piece. So what I want you to do is to begin by just taking a simple and deep breath in through the nose. And exhale. Second time in. We start to calm down the nervous system and out. And now this third time, we could do something different. So when you breathe in, hold it in. And this time, I want you to say, ha, on the way out. And if you dare, now good observations, I don't hear anyone. If you dare to take yourself off mute, and we can make it fully immersive, interactive. Fantastic, okay, so the same thing again, and I'm gonna shift my angle slightly. So hand on the tummy, feel those abdominals. In again we go. And out. Ha! 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 Fantastic, and you see that deep breath of energy pushing from the abdominal rather than the energy coming from the throat. A third time, just one ha, all the way in. And out. Great. One more time, and I want you to give it more. So give me more volume, more push, more energy if you can, all the way in. And out. Fabulous. Okay, I start seeing evolution. Okay, we'll do it again. Slight variation though this time. A little bit less, we're taking away some of the rules. So we're going to breathe all the way in, and then when we go out, instead of going ha just once, we're going to do 3 times or more. So in, all the way we go. And then out, we're going to go ha ha ha. Very good. Okay, one more time, all the way in. And out. Ha ha ha. Good. Okay, and this is going to be our final time. I want you to give it all that your abdominals can. And this time you can do as many ha ha ha's as you like. So all the way in. Ready? Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you for your participation in that. And you'll see that this, when you start to stimulate the system to make it laugh, it can actually even continue and a ricocheting effect. So there we did a little bit into the abdominals and the breathing. And I want you now to come close, bring your face nice and close, up close to the screen. Might feel a bit unusual. And I want you to imagine that you're chewing a really sticky sweet. So you're starting to warm up your jaw. Very good. And if you can probably feel some heat here, it's showing that these muscles are really starting to work. And now we're going to make some strange faces together. I'm loving this. I'm so happy this is recorded. Make a big E, like make a sound E. Yeah, there's big teeth. E. Fantastic. Okay, and now we're going to go to an ooh. 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 Okay, groovy. And now a big opening up the mouth really wide. Oh. Oh. Oh, your presentation is going to be fabulous later. So much great expression. Okay, and now we're just going to mix that around where we're going to go, ew. Ew, okay. Feel free also to come off mute if you want to. And now one more time, for the second time. Ew. Ew. Great. And this time, ooh-ah. Ooh-ah. A second time, ooh-ah. Ooh-ah. And finally, aye. 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 Fantastic. Okay, great stuff. Great stuff. Okay, I could go on, but I'll leave it there for a little bit of the articulation stuff. So we warmed up these muscles a little bit. We're starting to really stretch our embouchure, mouthpiece as a human, the mouthpiece, the pipe print of our instrument. And so now finally to tap into a little bit into the emotions, because of course it's not about what you say, but it's about how you say it and how you make people feel. So this is going to feel perhaps a little bit uncomfortable, but you seem like the kind of bold, courageous ladies who's going to get right in the ring with me. So what I want you to do is to step towards the camera, and I want you to look really angry if you can. And we're going to I want the sound of anger and the expression of anger after 3. So we're going 3, 2, 1. Okay, good. A second time, and make it even stronger. Channel all your frustration into this moment and let it go. In 3, in 2, in 1. Okay, good. I feel like there's more to come. Let's try it one more time. In 3, in 2, in 1. Right. Shake that off a little bit. Shake that off. And just to contrast, complement that. Woo, yeah, we're going to contrast it with balance out the emotions with some joy. So again, keep that high level of energy though. 3, we're going to go on 2, and then on 1, we're going to go in and show me the camera something really joyful. Use your body, your face, and any sounds you want to make too. So on 3, on 2, on 1, joy. Amazing. Okay. Do you want to do that again, or should we leave it there?
Again.
Can you do more? Okay, right. Let's go again. Let's go more. We can take that even to a next level and convince, like, there's joy on demand here. Okay. In 3, in 2, in 1. Okay, and now you've just won a banging prize. You're happy, you're excited, you're out of control. Imagine you're in the room with Gertrude and it's the after party of the Herstory conference. You've nailed your talk. Ready? Show that emotion for me. In 3, in 2, in 1.
Woo!
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. Woohoo! Big clap and round of applause for you all. Thank you so much for your participation. I think that is my time is, I think, Gertrude, correct me if I'm wrong, that's about up. I really appreciate your time. I hope this has given you a little bit of energization, despite being on the Zoom virtual format. And I'm really excited for all of your talks. I may make another appearance later on to reveal a little bit more about who I am and my background. But today, really, I wanted to give you a flavor for some of this empowerment medicine, because courage is contagious, motion generates emotion, and I'm just super happy to connect and share some of my spice with you all. So thank you.
Okay, so that was a previous presentation in 2020. And the reason why I wanted it to follow off on my presentation is because she's again talking about communication, right? The nonverbal cues, how we communicate with our bodies more than the words that come out of our mouths. So Manuela, what was your biggest takeaway from that presentation?
That was fun, Gertrude, wasn't it?
She's very
That was,
energetic.
yes, absolutely. It's just beautiful and yes, full of energy. But for me, one of the key reminders following your presentation regarding communication, sorry, is the way that we can tap into our minds through our body language, the way we stand, the way we smile, the way we move, and also allowing ourselves to our beautiful energies to flow freely. It's a way to express freely. It's a way to convey our message. And when we see it, I come across these gorgeous, beautiful ladies, and you can see they, as exactly Lucy referred to this gentleman or the audience. You can see the body language is a little bit shy, a little bit timid, a little bit perhaps insecure, and when you let that out and you get your posture, the posture of a warrior, of a queen, of a someone who has a message and a story, because we all do, right? Different ones. It's a different. It changes the whole message, the whole thing. That was
It
beautiful.
sure does.
Yes.
Renako, what is your feedback?
I'm simply mesmerized by the amount of energy that she has. Like, if we could all just be like Lucy, then the world would be just a full of like fun, positive energy. I think my biggest take was the California poppy. Like, for me, it's like we're all flowers and we deserve to bloom, but sometimes you don't have that one person who's going to pick you up and take you to the sunlight. So I'm happy that they're there to be like that sunlight woman who takes that flower to the sunlight, and that was really impressive for me. And just how I keep learning more and more about communication to figure out that there's so much that we don't know, and there's still so much to learn. I'm just impressed.
Fantastic. Thank you. So I'll introduce the next speaker because I don't have her bio, but Gail Carson is a woman who has gone through many, 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 many trials and tribulations health-wise. She's based in the United Kingdom. Absolutely fascinating woman. She'll be sharing her health and wellness journey, the challenges that she has gone through to get to a ripe old age and survive cancer multiple times. So, Gail, thank you for sharing your story with us.
Okay.
And thank you for your positivity. I think that is really what has sustained you and kept you alive for so long. Beautiful story. This is Gail Carson in the United States. Hi, everybody. This is Gertrude Mache again with this Her Story podcast. I've yet another interesting guest coming to me from America by the name of Gail Carson. Gail, tell everybody where you're based, how old you are, and just share your story with us this morning.
Well, actually, I'm based in 3 places: Miami, San Diego, and Palm Springs.
Okay.
And I'm 80 years old, so I've experienced a lot. And that's basically it. If you want me to tell my kind of story from the time I started working or whatever, or my current situation, that's up to you. But I'm known as Dr. Gail SOB, spunky old broad, and that's exactly what I am.
I love it. Let's start with your current challenge and then go back to the previous challenges that have brought you to this point.
Well, I'm a 4-time breast cancer survivor. I'm going through my 4th case right now. If you add up the years that are involved in this, it's actually 31. My first case was in 1987. I was 49 years old. Now I'm 80, and they just diagnosed me with my 4th case. Even though I've had a double mastectomy, I've gone through 16 surgeries. I'm now on a new treatment. I go every 2 weeks, and then it'll be a month from then on. I get 2 injections, 2 oil chemo injections in each of my butt cheeks. And I'm taking a pill that I take I take it for 21 days, and I take a week off. This treatment was not even available 3 years ago. So this is brand new. We'll see how it all goes. But that's my current challenge is dealing with the cancer. I continue to do everything that I'm doing. I do 12 radio shows a month, and I have 500,000 listeners. And they don't know about it. My newsletter that I send every week, I talk about it, but I talk about a lot of things in my newsletter. And I'm still speaking. I still go to events. I still coach people. But the real challenge right now is the cancer.
Wow. Now, this has happened to you a 4th time. Tell me how you felt the first time you were diagnosed.
Well, the first time I was diagnosed, I was blown away. Because number one, I'm one of these fitness people. I work out 2 hours a day. So I was very healthy. I can't tell you I eat perfectly, but I don't eat a lot of junk, but I don't necessarily go without meat, or I don't have a special diet. But it was when it was 87, so they didn't really talk about breast cancer then.
Mm-hmm.
And but they were saying that women should go and get their mammograms when they were 50. And my husband said to me, honey, you really ought to go and get a mammogram. And I said, oh, are you kidding me? I'm not 50 yet. I mean, I'm healthy as a horse, But I went, and they discovered it, and you could have knocked me over with flypaper because I was so amazed. So then, the year later, I was diagnosed in the other breast.
Oh.
And there, I had a double mastectomy. There's a whole long story in the middle of all of that, but I had a double mastectomy, and then I had all kinds of different surgeries because there were so many different things going on that I just had to do that. And then, of course, after several years, it came back. Well, it came back in the left breast. In fact, they were wheeling me out of the hospital, and the phone rang in the room, and I said, "Gee, I better answer that." So my husband turned me around, and we went back, and I got the phone call, and she said, "We really don't know if it went anywhere. It's too difficult to tell, and we suggest you have a mastectomy." So just after I had a lumpectomy, they just turned me around and gave me a mastectomy. So it was so devastating. This third one was so devastating that they almost took my ribs. And I had such horrible skin on the one side because the blood vessels were coming through. My skin was so thin. So then I had to go for 3 surgeries where they took fat out of my body to put it on my chest so that the blood vessels wouldn't come through. So now we've got that covered. And literally, I probably had this for almost 3 years without knowing it, because I always complained that when I wore bras, they were very uncomfortable. I would come in my apartment, I would take everything off and say, oh, thank goodness. When I finished my workouts with the sports bra and everything, I would take everything off. And actually, it was probably because I alerted people that it was painful, but they thought it was scar tissue. They thought it was the shifting of the body, which does happen.
Yes.
But when I went to the doctor and I said, I really have pain, because I have pain every day. So for me, this was, really hard pain. He said, when you said you had pain, I knew it was something, because you just never complain. And I don't complain. But what's the point, So anyway, they did a CT scan, showed nothing. So then they did a bone scan. That's when they found it. So now I'm on new treatment, and supposedly I'm going to have to stay on this the rest of my life.
So just to warn other women out there, your body gives you the warning signs. Your body tells you something is wrong. But a lot of times women don't listen. We brush these things aside and not take it seriously.
Well, I took it seriously, but nobody thought it was anything more than because of all the radiation I'd had, the chemo, everything, all the surgeries, they just figured it was scar tissue. But I don't think it was. I think that's when the thing was forming, because he said the oncologist said it took a long time for these to form. But now I'm certainly aware, I'm doing what I need to do, and we'll see what happens.
You seem like one of the most positive people I've ever met who's gone through this experience. What makes you stay positive? Because that's got to be something very psychological that you're tapping into.
Well, that's just how I lead my life. I don't know. I can't. It's hard for me to stay depressed more than 30 seconds. If I'm down about something, I'm thinking and thinking and thinking, and all of a sudden I'm fine again, and I don't know. But of course, that's what I also teach. I teach about positive thinking. And I know that 5 minutes of negative thinking takes your body 24 hours to recover from.
Yes.
So, that's just me. And that's what people say, nobody really knows what I'm going through now. And if they do know, if they do ask, if I tell them, they say, but you look so good, and I said, well, that's the way it is. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. So give me 3 nuggets of wisdom, 3 things you would tell another woman to warn them about what to look out for.
Oh, 3 nuggets. Well, I'd say, first of all, if you believe that something has changed in either your body or mentally how you feel, then go check it out. I think that's number 1.
Yes.
Number 2, I would strongly advise making sure you exercise every single day. And the reason I say that is because I believe that taking care of myself and exercising, like this morning, I did an hour and a half of exercise. Now, I can't do what I did, but I did 30 minutes on the bike, 30 minutes on the treadmill, and then I did biceps and triceps. I can't do chest yet, or shoulders, or a back, or any of the really hard exercise, but I'm doing what I can to keep my body moving. And I believe that's what allows me to get through this the way I have, but I never had any adverse reaction to chemo or anything, nothing. Okay. So that would be the second thing. And the third thing I would say is, and this maybe doesn't have anything to do with physically, but mentally, if you're not happy, ask yourself why, and get rid of people and things in your life that are causing you stress and aggravation. Now, sometimes you can't do that because it's your family. They drive you nuts. Right?
That's a difficult one.
Right. But if there's any way for you to control who these other people are who come into your life, do it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because it is those toxic relationships as well that can impact on your health.
Exactly. Exactly right.
Now, you do not look your age. What is your secret to beauty?
Well, thank you very much, first of all. But again, I go back to, I think, being happy. Number 2, I think it's the exercise and taking care of myself. And 3, I work very hard at it. I mean, I go through the lotions and the potions. Everybody teases me, because I have these lotions and potions. I've never had plastic surgery because I've had so many of the other surgeries. I don't want
You don't want anything else.
I don't want anything else. But I do use face masks. I do use moisturizers. I do use, brushes on my face to clean. So I take good care of myself. So thank you very much.
And the other thing that I've noted about you is just your mental alertness, and you're just so alive. What do you do to keep your brain fresh and young? And I've just met you, but I can just feel that up here, it's all there as well. How do you do that?
Well, I have to tell you, my mom lived to 99 and a half. My mother was sharp until the end. She was
Wow.
shouting out orders to everybody, So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But I do read a lot. I learn a lot. I go to seminars all the time. People say to me, don't you know it yet? Well, when you stop learning, you might as well stop living.
Yeah.
So I'm always active and busy. I was at a business lunch today. I was at where I got my doctorate, Nova Southeastern University. I was at a big event for them Tuesday night. I probably amount 3-4 times a week at lunches, dinners, and meetings and so forth. I run a mastermind group for not-for-profits. I have Habitat for Humanity. I have Girl Scouts, etc. And I do a lot of, I'm just active. I don't sit home. And then, of course, the radio shows, I'm interviewing marvelous people. So, I constantly am stimulated.
That is just amazing. Now, over and above everything you've gone through health-wise, I know that you have lost your son and you've lost your husband. Would you like to touch on that a little bit?
Well, I don't know if anybody remembers Jim Henning from the Muppets, but Jim Henning got this kind of pneumonia where he got it, he was gone within a week. And that's what happened to my son. He got this, he wasn't the strongest physically, but he got this pneumonia. He wouldn't go to the hospital. His friends all told him he should go. He was in Spain when he died, Madrid. And they
How
told
old was he?
When he passed away, he was 45.
Oh.
So it's about 16 years ago.
Mm.
And that had a lot of impact on my husband as well. And my husband, who was a 3-letter man in college, he was football, track, basketball, very athletic. Just everything got away from him. He became diabetic. He had 5 heart surgeries. He had prostate cancer. Just a lot of things. And it was overwhelming for him. He gained a lot of weight. And so I'd say to him, lose a pound a week, 2 pounds a week. Don't think about losing 50 pounds or 100 pounds, a pound a week. But it was too much for him. So I wasn't even here when he passed away. I was actually in Dallas. And I was the last person to talk to him. It was one of the happiest days of his life. My younger son, had finished remodeling and building a house, and he just thought it was beautiful, and he was so happy. So I talked to him at 10 o'clock at night, and he died at midnight. And so when I couldn't get him the next morning, because I used to call him 5 times a day to make sure he took his medicine and everything, which of course he said he did, but he didn't all the time. And he didn't answer 3 times. So we had a handyman, and I sent him in, and they found him, and that was it. I never even finished. I had just gotten to Dallas to run a 5-day meeting, and I called the fellow who had hired me, and I said, I'm leaving. My husband passed away. You're going to have to take over the meeting. And I got on a plane and came home.
Oh, wow.
And we were really happily married for 45 years. And that was about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago.
Oh, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, it sounds to me like you have this unique gift to just keep bouncing back.
Well, I think I do, Gertrude. I really think I do. But again, it's because I live a full life. I've never felt the need to meet any other guys. I haven't felt like dating, because every day I'm so busy. I have a wonderful life, and as long as I've got my pets, now I'm down to 2 cats. But if I've got my pets, I'm perfectly happy. When I sit in a chair. They're there on my lap when I go to sleep. They're right next to me in bed, and I'm perfectly happy.
Oh, fantastic. Gail, thank you so much for coming on board and doing this interview. I'm really hoping that there is a woman out there who has been diagnosed with breast cancer and is feeling really down and unsure and scared, and just seeing you and what you've done with your life, because people go into fear a lot of times when they're diagnosed with certain diseases, and that fear can take over.
You know, I can tell you, Gertrude, I mean, it wasn't something I wanted to hear again, or in fact, I was driving down I-95 in my car when I got that diagnosis. But, you know, it's just never too late as far as I'm concerned. For anybody out there, I mean, you know, yeah, I'll be 81 shortly. I mean, I think let's say I'm close to 81 than I am to 80 at this point. But my sister's the same way. My sister is 85 and she's still going strong. I mean, she just, you know, she got 5 Lifetime Achievement Awards, and I mean, she's fabulous, you know, and, but it's, you know, you just have to keep yourself occupied. So if you've got the dream to go into your own business, or, I mean, I've been in my own business for 60 years. So if you have that dream, or you want to move, or you want to try something new, it is never too late. That's the important thing. It's never too late.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Gail. I really appreciate catching up with you and you sharing with my audience who you are, and just the inspiration that you've given us today is amazing. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And if any of your watchees or listeners or whoever want to contact me, they can always go to my website, spunkyoldbroad.com. There's only one of me, and you'll find me, and you can send me a message or do whatever you'd like. If you want any advice, anything at all, just go to spunkyoldbroad.com. Fill in, you know, the little form there, and I'll be glad to be back in touch with you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, that was the spunky old broad, Gail
We really
Carlson.
need to have a conversation in here about judgment.
She's amazing.
The pharma
absolutely amazing woman. Imagine having cancer 4 times and she just keeps bouncing back. She's healthy, she's vibrant, 80 plus years old now. So I really wanted to share that, because a lot of times when women get the diagnosis, they go instantly into fear, and then they can't see a possibility of finding a way out of where they are to where they want to go. So we need these stories of inspiration. I think it makes a big difference. What was your take?
Thank you, Gertrude. There were a couple of takes. I took a couple of notes. One was tune into your body and your mind, and if you notice any changes, then maybe perhaps go and talk to the doctor or do something about it. And the second one was, if you're not happy, ask yourself why. That's really, really important. But ultimately, listening to Gail, I thought, what a beautiful and gifted lady that she's actually sharing with us her gift. And I think one of her most powerful gifts that she shared with us is not being defined by her past, not being defined by her illness. So she's sharing the story, but she's not defined by it. And I was thinking, those magic pills of happiness that she's taking, I need some. I want some of those, because she was so positive and full of life, and you could see, we could all sense her glass is overflowing, right? Yeah. Yes, she lost her son, and yes, she's gone through illness and her husband, but her glass is overflowing. It's incredible, so beautiful and gifted. I loved it.
Fantastic. All right, so we move on to a male speaker this time. I've just put another bio there. I think read the last one I shared while I queue up his video.
Beautiful. Is this Rick?
Yes.
Rick Schnabel?
That's right.
Wonderful. So our next guest is Rick Snavell, Australia's #1 brain and trainer and leading transformational coach, a behavioral expert with over 29,000 coaching hours. Turn the impossible into possible and your can'ts into cans. Rick Snavell, I am a life coach trainer, NLP trainer, and a brain and trainer. Back in 2004, I founded Life Beyond Limits. Our aim was simple: help people just like you to open their mind to get more from life and to teach life coaches the science and art of coaching and neurolinguistic programming.
Actually, Gertrude and I, we met, it was a long, long time ago in Bali. And we went to entrepreneur business school and we really connected, but more so, I was a huge admirer of Gertrude's courage and her ability to basically just put herself out there. And the thing that I really love about Gertrude is there isn't a filter between idea and action. And it's one of the things that often when I'm coaching, when I'm training people, I often say the thing that you've got to do in order to create success is just pull out that filter in your brain which says procrastinate. And that filter usually is filled with fear. And the thing that I was so admiring of Gertrude was the fact that she was able to basically get an idea and run with it so quickly. And you can actually see what happens when that happens. And this is it. This is the result of exactly that. The thing that really resonated with me, and I guess the thing that I really wanted to talk about today is I wanted to talk about why I believe that women, and I don't just mean women, I really mean the feminine energy. I am very feminine in my energy. I'm also very masculine, and many of you are very feminine and very masculine in your energy. However, I believe that right now, at this time in our history, it's really time to shift the baton. And the baton needs to go from the masculine energy to the feminine energy. Now, if we look at that metaphorically and very literally, when we look at the earth, and we call it the Mother Earth for very good reason, because it is our mother. You know, it is the place that allows us to live and breathe and prosper and foster and nurture. And if you think about it, the three elements that define this planet are basically the three elements that we abuse so much. The air, the water, and the earth are the three reasons that we can actually live on this planet. And they're the three things that I think what we have done through our psychology is we are interrupting so much and, you know, putrefying and toxifying, you know, our earth. So if I thought about it, my father was not a pushy guy. He was quite balanced too in his femininity, his masculinity. And he used to say to me quite often, he used to say, son, all I want is peace. Now, of course, he was raised through a depression. He experienced a war, and he had seen the brutality of mankind. And I'm not here to denigrate my own gender, but I am here to say that it is time that we really shifted, you know, that we really got to a point where we realized that our psychology, you know, the way that we think, has been housed so much in a depression, so much in war language. In fact, our corporate boardrooms create incredible excuses for war language, for massive competition, to kill the competition, you know, to basically there's a cost of war. And in business, and I've been in many boardrooms, this thinking prevails. So the woman is just there to ensure that we can be profitable and succeed as men. Well, as far as I'm concerned, that's BS. You know, yes, it's bullshit, and it's a belief system. But it's the belief system that we really have to change. We've got to stop this war language. So I was born into probably a very unfortunate environment for good reason. I learned how to fight before I could even speak. I remember, you know, I had a really weird name, you know, that Gertrude has challenged with every now and then, called Schnabel. And I could remember my introduction into the world, to planet Earth, was, what's your name? And, you know, they would introduce themselves and I would introduce myself and I would say, my name is Rick Schnabel. And that was typically followed by a punch in the face. And all it was based upon the Second World War. It appeared like the name probably was European. And, you know, it certainly wasn't Smith, Brown, Roberts, Jones, or any of those common Australian names. And forgive me, Michelle, but you know where I'm coming from. And so what happened was, you know, I actually learned how to fight before I could really speak English. You know, my parents were German. German was spoken in our household. You know, up until about age 4, I found it difficult to actually speak English. However, you know, it was the people around me that taught me pretty quickly. Like, for instance, when someone is threatening your life with a punch, and, you know, back then when you're a little kid, you think if you get punched, you're actually going to die. So your fear filter overemphasizes this whole concept. But I learned how much I dislike violence at a very, very young age. And so I came through the school system. I was challenged. I had this big neon sign above my head that said, challenge me, punch me, fight me. And that's all my life was. It was fight after fight after fight. And, you know, my first strategy was not to fight. And then it got to a point where I thought to myself, if I just sit there and just keep copping these punches, I am going to die. So I learned to fight. And the very first person that I ever really hit, it felt worse for me than I think it felt for them. And I began, as my life began to evolve, I just saw incredible amounts of violence. You know, I've had guns to my head, I've had knives to my gut. I've been in probably not so nice situations. I grew up in a very, very poor part of Victoria in Australia. And it was quite well known that my area was, you know, the poverty place. And it was rough. There's a movie called Romper Stomper, which I still cannot watch, but it was around the period when the skinhead movement happened, when there were packs of people that wanted to just descend on people. And I was one of those people that they often just saw me and they just wanted to hit me. But when I was 40, I studied incredibly. Like, my very first books that I read at 7 were psychology books. My favorite friend was my library card. It was a place where I used to hide. It was a place where I used to read. I got sick and tired of the children's section. I found myself in the psychology section, and I started reading books that made sense to me. And I started realizing, why am I so screwed up? And all those books told me why. Because my belief system needed changing. My value system needed adjusting. My neurological patterns, which were born from poverty, needed changing. But when I changed them, I began to realize that there's a lot of other people who need to change them too. That even the executives, you know, that we put up on pedestals sometimes, they need changing as well. Because, you know, I found myself in a space where I started coaching executives, training executives, and I began to realize that their mindset, even though they might be lauded, even though they might be put up on a pedestal, their mindsets really needed some work. You know, many of them who would talk about their wives like they were their dogs. You know, many of them would treat women in a way and speak about women in a way that I had to swallow hard to not react and respond as a coach. And the thing that I began to realize is that, you know, I remember one day I was in my kitchen and I asked myself a question. I really believe questions can determine your life. And I asked myself a question, and that question was, how can I really change the world as one person? And the truth is, you can't, not as one person. But what you can do is just like this. When you get a group of people together, that's when you can really change the world. But we've got to get down at the level of beliefs. We've got to get down at the level of psychology. And we've actually got to say that war language needs to end. The war needs to end. You know, it finished in the 40s, but it still features in our movies. It still features in our boardrooms, in our conversations, in our language. And then we get to a point where we look at the world and we put the thermometer in just to test its temperature. And it's starting to heat up a bit, you know, in the context of threats, you know, between various countries, you know, threats in politics. And we shouldn't be at this place. We really shouldn't. Because my mother, if she was in politics, she wouldn't tolerate war. Your mother, if she was in politics, she probably wouldn't tolerate the language. Your father might. Because, you know, boys don't cry. Men need to be tough. Men need to be hard. Again, I call BS on that. You know, there are many men that I work with that are very balanced now in their feminine, their masculine. They would not hit their wives. They would not even hit their daughters or their sons. You know, this is the shift that really needs to happen. In fact, violence at any level, and I mean at any level, to animals, you know, to children, to women, and to men, should not be tolerated. You know, this has got to end for a future. Like, if we think about it, what we do today is going to determine what happens 1,000 years from now, what we do today. You know, I met a clairvoyant many, many years ago in beautiful Hawaii, and I was in a market. I was doing a film with a group of people. And what happened was I got this little tap on the shoulder, and there's this little Asian lady. And she said, I need to tell you something.
We have been seriously affected by technology today, Manuela.
We have a little bit, Gertrude. So
crazy.
good.
So I think we will call it a day. It was lovely connecting with everybody. We will be back again tomorrow with day 6 of the Herstory Online Summit. Manuela, thank you for being here, holding space with us. And apologies again to everybody for all of the technical issues we've had. There is something happening out there with the Wi-Fi connections. I am just not sure what is going on. So what are your parting thoughts, Manuela?
I think Rick, I really appreciate and I commend a man with this experience coming to a platform with a voice, especially for women. But I think it's really empowering for us women to hear his opinion and his expertise. I really commend Rick for doing so. I had some thoughts and some. Yes, it's really interesting when you hear a man about embracing the feminine side, and I think we've come to admire those men that do so, but somehow in my heart I feel like it should be the way. We shouldn't. I think we need to stop seeing it as. And I'm sorry, Rick, like you're a beautiful man and a beautiful soul, and thank you. But somehow my heart feels like we need somehow to stop seeing it as something extraordinary, and exactly the same way that women, we embrace our masculine side and we take on labored jobs, responsibilities that in the past were more for men. There's nothing wrong with those men embracing the feminine side, their sensitivity, their intuition, and that would be my invitation to any men out there listening to us to embrace that side, because it's your power, it's part of who you are.
Yeah.
But overall, I loved Rick's message, and as I said, I do commend him for being here with us today. That was beautiful.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will be back again tomorrow. Hopefully, our technology will have improved. Have a fantastic day, morning, evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for tuning in, and bye for now. Thanks, Manuela.
Thank you, Gertrude.
See you.